Welcome to the Double A Sports Podcast. Here are your hosts, Alan and Alan.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Double A Sports Podcast. We're your host, Alan and Alan.
What's up, everyone?
What's going on? Welcome to September.
Hey.
It's crazy already. Between, going back to work and now baseball, it's like, man, it's September.
Already, yeah, man. September's going to be a big month for you.
Very big month. It's crazy that within the next couple weeks, our daughter will be here. It's insane. Oof. It's crazy. Time's flying.
Yes, sir.
So.
All right. Well, before we get into some baseball, we had some sad news this weekend. It looks like Chadwick Boseman, you know him as the Black Panther actor, he passed away.
Yeah, it was insane. My friend Sam sent me, and I'm like, no. I was playing Call of Duty. I'm like, no. I broke focus, went on Facebook, and went to his, and I'm like, oh, my God. Like, the way, his big role was playing Jackie Robinson in 42.
Yeah, man, and what was nuts is he passed away on Jackie Robinson Day in MLB.
The weekend that they're celebrating.
Right, exactly.
It's insane. And 42, it's just crazy. Like, the movie, then Jackie Robinson, he highly enjoyed doing the movie. And, of course, after his death, there's stories coming out. And one clip I think MLB shared was that he was talking about that the writer of the movie decided that he needed to do this because he was doing an event with Ken Griffey.
Okay.
And they were talking about, Jackie Robinson set a great example for me, and he was talking to the kids, and kids like, who's Jackie Robinson? So Ken Griffey looked at the guy like, we have to change this. And that came the idea of doing a Jackie Robinson movie. It's like, wow.
Another story that stuck out to me was that when he was in school, Denzel Washington paid for his tuition to do a class at Howard.
Yeah, at Howard, he was one of the few people that got a scholarship that was paid by Denzel Washington.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I was like, wow. And then I liked what Andrew McCutcheon had to say about Chadwick, that at the red carpet for the premiere for 42, that Chadwick was in awe for him and the other sports stars that were there. I'm like, this is your movie, your limelight. He's like, you're in awe of us being here. This is insane.
Yeah.
It just shows how much humble this guy was. And then the fact that he hid his cancer diagnosis for 4 years, making these huge movies.
Yep.
Like, literally, Civil War, when he got introduced as Black Panther, was his only role that he didn't have cancer. Everything else, the Black Panther, Infinity Wars, Marshall, all that stuff was done while having cancer. And we'll get one more movie that he has done. It's just insane that, he still brought light and hope to people, and people just got to live the same way. So, it's unfortunate. Rest in peace, rest in power, Wakanda forever. It's insane. But speaking of Jackie Robinson weekend, it was, it's interesting that, we're used to doing one day of Jackie Robinson in April. They decided to do the whole weekend, which I think is cool because at first they said it was because that's the same weekend as the March on Washington. Well, also, it was the day when Jackie Robinson first met to be the possibility of playing in the Major League when he first signed to play minor league the next year. Okay. That's why they also did that same weekend. So it was pretty cool. But the weekend went off, and then, of course, everyone was wearing 42 all weekend. It was real nice. And then some people were donating their game checks from the games this weekend to go to charity and whatnot. So I liked it. I think they did well. It's still weird, being August.
Exactly. Well, we're in a weird season.
Yeah, like I'm used to in April, like one of the first weekends, like, okay, it's Jackie Robinson Day.
Right. And speaking of sports, this past week, a lot of the sports were on a standstill. A lot of the sports world started to protest in response to a shooting that happened this week.
Yeah, the protests after the shooting in, was it Wisconsin? It finally started with the Milwaukee Bucks. The first sports between, it was Milwaukee Bucks and Orlando, I think it was. It was the first round of their playoffs, and they refused to play.
Exactly, yep. And then all of the other NBA teams or the games were postponed. And then, that same day, I think NHL started postponing games as well. MLB
I think one of the later games in the West Coast.
Okay.
I think Milwaukee. I think the Brewers did. I think Seattle did.
Yeah, a couple of MLB games did postpone, but
That
some of
day.
them played through.
Yeah. But then the next day, like, the Mets game was the big factor. Everyone's like, oh, it must be playing because people are out there throwing around.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be like step of the bat. Everyone did a moment of silence, and then they just walked off the field. And then Brodie with the hot mic, which he thought it was Mandel's, but apparently it was the Wilpons' idea.
Exactly. Yeah, he apologized, but, I mean, I don't know if that's going to go over so well.
The whole point of, the protest is where instead of people enjoying watching sports, they really can think about what's going on in the world. I get that. I'm perfectly fine with that. Some people did not like it. They said you should just play a game, worry about politics. It's their choice. Like, I agree, sometimes you got to stop and think about the bigger issues than playing sports. Now, the whole thing about, at first, NBA was thinking about not playing at all. I thought that was a little ridiculous. And I'm glad they worked it out. But I'm like, wow, you're going to cancel a whole playoffs? I'm like, if that's what y'all want to do. But I'm pretty sure it was only a few people because clearly a lot of teams were like, no, we're not going to do that much.
Yeah, I think LeBron was outspoken about something, and some of the younger players were like, you don't speak for us, and like they didn't like it at all.
They didn't like how he was coming off.
Exactly. I didn't get the full details on that.
Yeah, but after watching like Dom Smith's press conference, after the protest started, the first night, that's when it hit home, and that's when the Mets decided to do the walk off because they stood with their teammates.
Right.
So, but stick with y'all. We'll support y'all. But let's get into some real baseball news. We almost went in a week without this conversation. Like, we thought the Mets were finally done with COVID, and then Sunday, one person had to spoil it for everyone.
Yeah, somebody on the A's team got COVID, and that postponed the game they're supposed to have against the Astros. I mean, look, I'm just glad it wasn't 13 people. It was one person.
Yeah. And we don't know if it's a player, coach, because they have not released that detail yet. They said one person of the team, not player, coach, just a member of the organization. They said someone.
Right.
So there's no news. I guess, if they go to play, I believe games are all canceled through Wednesday.
I think they're playing today, Tuesday.
No, they got postponed too.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they are now not going to play till, I believe...
They were supposed to play the Rangers, weren't they?
No, Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah, they're supposed to play Seattle, so now they're making 3-game series. In Seattle, most likely going to be double headers. So all 3 games has been postponed now. So the earliest they're now going to play is not till Friday.
Okay. So
come Friday, if we see a player that randomly hits DL, we know that was probably that.
Right. Exactly.
So... Unfortunately, at least like you said, it's one person. And it's actually the first time this has hit the West Coast region.
Oh.
Because if you think about it, it's been Miami, Reds.
That's true.
Mets.
Yes.
St. Louis.
Okay.
Is all more east into the middle of the country. No, nothing on the West Coast.
I wonder why. That's weird.
Yeah. So it's like finally, okay. So more and more, we talked about this weeks ago, is they're thinking about doing the bubble come playoff. This is definitely seeing more and more light. Nothing's set in stone, but rumor is it's going to happen because in Southern California and also in Texas, if you try to book hotel rooms in certain hotels, they're fully booked for a couple months.
Which is weird given the situation.
So it's like, so we think MLB is getting a plan together and starting booking hotels for these players and teams to go to.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm with it. I mean, whatever gets the job done, because we hate to see the playoffs start and then a couple teams hit with COVID. That's not going to work out.
Yeah, definitely not. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. So,
all right. Well, let's get into something that's a hot topic this week. Let's talk about the trade deadline.
Yeah, trade deadline. We knew it was coming. We're seeing what moves we're doing, and it was kind of busy, especially the weekend. So you know. We talked about last week with the Phillies making a bunch of moves for the bullpen, and we figured they weren't done. And there's a couple of teams we talked about that, look, they need pitching. This team need hitters. So we're going to go break. So the first trade that stuck out to us was on August 27th is the Blue Jays acquiring
Taijuan
Walker from Seattle for a player to be named later or cash.
Okay.
So, of course, this is Blue Jays' second trade of the week, acquiring Walker to add team's pitching staff, which, 3 of their starters are on the injured list.
Yeah, Matt Shoemaker, Nate Pearson, and Trent Thornton. Like you said, the deal gives them another arm in the rotation, which they absolutely need.
Yeah, especially with them coming up, they're
Competing.
even within striking distance of the Yankees now.
Yeah, and the Yankees are hurt, so I like this move.
So they needed some pitching, and Walker has had some solid starts, so that's why there was more talk about him. That's why we thought Mets were going to be interested. Yankees were another team, but Blue Jays went early, got the deal done. A lot of these deals that we're going to be talking about is a lot of player to be named later because the circumstances, they had to be on the 60-man roster to be traded.
Okay.
If they weren't, they're technically a player to be named later. So that's how they had to do it this year for the trade deadline.
Okay.
So we'll figure. I think they can't do the trade until after the season ends. So once the season ends, all these trades that the player to be named later, they're going to be in effect. That's when we'll know for sure who the players are actually getting traded.
Okay. All right. Well, the next trade we want to talk about happened on August 29th. The Padres acquired Trevor Rosenthal from the Royals, and they gave away the outfielder Edward Olivares and a player to be named later.
So this was a pitcher that we knew that was going to go. Multiple people were looking at because he had a great year this year. Royals took a chance on him. It worked out with their benefit because they're getting 2 prospects eventually from this deal.
Okay.
So, for his trade market this season, he had a 3.2 ERA with 21 strikeouts over 13 and 2/3 innings as relieving. He has a triple digits on the radar gun, so San Diego's number 20 prospect is getting named to the deal. And, of course, a player to be named later.
Right. Okay. I like that. The Padres definitely
needed some rotation help.
Exactly.
And
I feel like a lot of teams we've been talking about it need pitching because pitchers have been getting injured this year.
Yes, this is the year the injured pitcher rotation.
Exactly.
Bullpen
everywhere.
It's like I said, most of your starters are going 5-6 innings at best. So luckily if you're doing a bunch of double headers, 7 games, then you only need 1 more inning. But
right.
But you still need 3 innings, and with these double headers, you need a bigger bullpen and someone that can go out there many times within a couple of days.
Exactly.
So next on our list,
speaking of pitchers,
is Braves on August 30th acquired Tommy Malone from the Orioles for 2 players to be named later.
Okay. Well, we know Atlanta's competing, and they could obviously use pitching as their star pitcher. Soroka got injured earlier against the Mets.
And still no word on Cole Hamels if that's even going to happen this year or not.
Exactly.
Which I'm assuming not, because I think this is the week they have to be on the roster if they want to play in the postseason.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that he's not going to make it back this year.
Yeah, well, like we said, the Braves are still leading the division. They're 18-14 entering into Sunday. And now you got a lefty on the squad. So, I like it.
6 starts in Baltimore before they started falling apart. 33-year-old is posted a 3.99 ERA with 31 strikeouts over 29 1/3 innings. So it will allow Atlanta to move either one of their 2 guys they've been using kind of in the rotation back to the bullpen.
Okay.
So it'll kind of bounce them out for a little while.
Right, and they're going to need the bullpen for sure, especially in later rounds. If they make the playoffs, that's going to be key. So, if as many guys you can get starting and more guys in the bullpen, the better.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, the next one we got is on August 30th, the Padres. They got Mitch Moreland from the Red Sox for Hudson Potts and Jason Rosario.
Yeah, so Moreland is matching like never before he did in 2020. Batting .328 with 8 home runs, 21 RBIs in 22 games. As 34-year-old veteran, we knew this was one of the guys that definitely was going to get dealt at the trade deadline for Red Sox.
Yeah.
And it did happen kind of earlier. And this is really one of the only few names you heard from Red Sox, which we thought was going to be a lot busier.
Yeah, I thought they were going to have a fire sale at this rate.
We thought, but I guess maybe they're asking too much or they decide just to hold off. But we'll see. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, Padres, again, they needed someone with a DH, that power, even though they've been hitting very well. But come postseason, you need a bat.
Yeah.
And this guy can clearly be your DH, your first baseman if needed.
And if he performs well, he has a $3 million club option next year.
Yeah.
So he might not just be a rental.
Yeah, if he does well, and then if $3 million is a bargain for what he finishes the rest of the year.
It could be.
So it could be well worth it. And
it sounds like what he's doing so far. It's absolutely worth.
And I think that's why they got 2 prospects this year from the 60-man pool.
Right.
So he's not purely a rental. That's why players named later. A lot of people are purely rentals. You're not. You're getting the players named later because they're more worth it.
Exactly.
So the next is finally Rockies making a move, which this is another guy we've heard and talked about, is they acquired Mitchell Givens from the Orioles.
Okay.
For first third baseman Tyler Nevin, shortstop and Tara Vavra. And then, of course, another player to be named later. So, a veteran receiver, missed of his career year, 30-year-old, pitched at least 63 innings the last 4 seasons, had a 1.38 ERA in 12 appearances this year for Baltimore. His 19 strikeouts in 13 games come career best, and ranked 19th in majors, entering Sunday the minimum 10 innings for Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a good move because the Rockies are contending to try to get a playoff spot, and their bullpen right now is the 3rd highest ERA at 5.81. So they need help if they want to be serious about contending.
Yeah, and then he's not going to reach free agency until after next season. So this is not pure rental. This is rest of the year and next year. So, but let's see. Tyler was the number 14 prospect in the Rockies organization. Vera was number 7. So you get 2 of the top 30 prospects from the Rockies going to Orioles, which are in rebuilding mode.
And they absolutely need these prospects. So I think in this situation, both these teams won right here.
Yeah.
I think it's good for both of them.
Clearly, there was a win-win for both. So.
All right. So the next one we want to talk about, August 30th, another trade happened at the Padres and the Angels. And this is, this is good because, like you said, the teams that need to make the moves are actually doing something.
Yes.
And the Padres have been making moves.
Yeah. And one of the things we said last week was Padres were probably looking for catchers.
Yep.
Well, the next 2 trades we talk about, they address that and much more. But they acquired the catcher Jason Castro from the Angels. They needed a catcher because the catcher they had was batting terrible. And to be where they at, they need something a little bit better, and they went out and they did it. Even though he hasn't hit much better than what they got, but I think more he's the defensive guy. He'll be a backup for them. He did make his major league debut for San Diego last year, the pitcher they gave to the Angels, but he's still raw. He's 27. He posted a 70 ERA and 27 relief appearances last year. So maybe Angels will get something from him.
Right. I mean, this trade, it happened. I don't know if it's a huge thing to talk about because, these guys, they need some work to get better. But, you never know. Every little thing can help at this point, and who knows? Everybody needs catching and definitely need pitching. So that's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the next one.
So the next one was a very late night trade because I didn't hear about it the next day. And like when did this trade happen? I'm like, this must have been real late, like early morning for us here on the East Coast, late night for them on the West Coast. But Padres acquired catcher Austin Nola, right-hand pitcher Austin Adams, right-hand pitcher Danny Oliva, exchanged for their prospect Taylor Trammell, catcher Luis Torres, right-hand pitcher Andres Munoz, and then infielder Ty France.
I wonder if Taylor Trammell's related to Alan Trammell.
Probably.
Anyways, yeah. So like you said, it was a late night deal.
Yeah.
7 players,
Seattle.
man.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal.
This late night capped a very busy day for San Diego, and it involves 7 players. Like you said, it boasted their catching depth with Noah. He can also play first base and other positions on the field, so he's not just he's slashing 306 on the field with 29 games so far this year with Seattle.
Okay,
and he is under team control through 2025.
Nice.
So
okay,
that
great.
was the big thing for them.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised a lot of these moves happened. Like I said, a short season, I didn't know what to expect. But if you got some guys who you're going to get who are going to stay with the team, you're going to have control of them for a while. It makes sense.
Yeah, and then Taylor Trammell was the number 5 prospect for the Padres. That was the big name that stuck out to me. I'm like, I know this name from the top prospect list. I'm like, this is a big name.
Okay.
So I was like, they got, like I said, but the catcher, they have control, so it was worth the high price. So. All
right. Well, let's go on. Another one with the Padres. Like I said, the Padres are making big moves. So they got. Oh, I'm sorry. Are we on? Nope. Sorry. All right, so now we're on the 31st, all right?
Yep.
Okay. The Reds. Reds, and me and Alan talked about this last time. We said this guy could be a potential trade guy, and I'm surprised they actually did it. So Brian Goodwin of the Angels was traded to the Reds, and what did the Angels get for him? They got left-hand pitcher Packy Naughton and a player to be named later. But Brian Goodwin, he can have an effect right away.
He became expendable after the Angels called their top prospect, Joe Adell. He turned out to be a savory pickup for the club, which selected him off waivers from the Royals last year. So Goodwin batted .258 with his 160 games with the Angels with 21 home runs, 64 RBIs, spending time all three outfield spots.
Right.
So this just gives Reds more depth, a player off the bench for their depth for a run. So the guy they gave up, the left-handed, wow, I'm drawing a blank right now. He was a 9th-round pick in 2017. He reached AA last season, where he posted a 3.66 ERA. So there's potential.
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
they gave up, and that's one thing we've always talked about with the Angels. They need pitching.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the answer.
No,
but he's at least the start.
Something
exactly adds value because they don't. I mean, they have depth in the outfield, so they could get rid of Brian Goodwin. But I think I would have looked a little bit different route. I would have tried to get rid of Upton. I think if I was them. But
no one was willing to pay or whatever they wanted.
Take on the contract,
that money. And,
it makes more sense to get Goodwin.
Yeah, because he's not a free agent until after 2022 season because he's still his rookie the service time. So plenty of time left for him. And then this team we keep talking about, the Padres making yet another deal. It's like all I heard when my phone was going off was Padres this, Padres that, and I was like, are they what the?
They're trying to do it, man.
And then the GM's trying to save his job, but the Padres acquire right-hand pitcher Taylor Williams for the Marlins for a player to be named later
for the Mariners.
Yeah, sorry. So
I mean, how much more pitching can they get?
Yeah, but Taylor Williams has 6 saves so far this year for the Mariners. He has dealt with some control problems in his career, and 2020 has been no different for this guy. He has walked 7 batters and thrown 6 wild pitches in 13 innings that he has pitched.
Okay.
So, but like you said, he's had 6 saves, so definitely not going to be the closer for the Padres, but he's definitely a good setup man if he can get that control under wraps. But it's kind of dangerous him throwing all that craziness around.
All right, so the next trade we want to talk about also happened on the 31st. We got the Phillies. Looks like they've acquired a right-hand pitcher, David Phelps, from the Brew Crew. And the Brewers are going to get 3 players to be named later.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is one of the confusing trades of the trade deadline. So, Phillips found himself on the move again in the deadline for a second straight year after joining that bullpen, which we know Phillies have tried to address. The 33-year-old went from Blue Jays to Cubs last year in the trade deadline. Now Phillies will hope for more of the same when they try to find their way to the postseason. But this is what's confusing is Brewers traded a relief pitcher to the Phillies who are there chasing for that other wild card spot.
I guess they both thought that they could benefit mutually from this trade. I mean, we know that, like I said, everybody needs pitching, so we know that was a thing. But players to be named later, I mean, why would the Brewers do that if they're not going to get a benefit right now? Yeah.
So he's been excellent this season. He's posted 2.77 ERA, career best, 13.8 strikeouts per 9 innings over the 12 games with Milwaukee. He's mixed up his 4-seam fastball, his sinker, cutter, and curveball, and has recorded at least 4 Ks on each pitch this season. So the 8-year veteran spent time as a starter early in his career with the Yankees, but now he's made relief pitchers of the bullpen since 2016 with his overall ERA at 2.85.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. It's a guy that the Phillies could use. I mean, like you said, you spent all this money on Bryce Harper, and you got your team looks solid, but they're not doing the best they can. And we obviously know you need pitching, so this makes sense, especially since he has an option for next season for $4.5 million. So it can help them beyond this season.
Yeah, and that's why that 3 players were named later, because he has that option. It's not just a pure rental.
Exactly.
If he was a pure rental, you're talking 2 players.
Maybe.
3rd player because he has that option year because he is doing good, and Phillies definitely need this guy. All right, the next couple ones have been, some of them have been like after the trade deadline finally got in, like they snuck it in right before. They started coming out after the 4 o'clock deadline. First one is the Mets acquiring right-hand pitcher Miguel Castro from the Orioles for Kevin Smith and a player to be named later or cash.
Okay, well, the Mets could always use more arms in the bullpen. That is one thing that in the last couple of years, every year, I feel like we always talk about the bullpen in the Mets.
I wanted bullpen help and I wanted rotation help since everyone's been hurt or not stepping up. And at least we got one bullpen guy. And Castro's not it's a solid arm that, New York is getting.
Yeah, well, of course, we attract hard-throwing guys, and this is a hard-throwing righty.
Yep. And then his personal best of 13.8 Ks per 9 innings. This year is 15 innings of work, and he's under control through 2022. But
Okay.
But Smith is a top prospect who could have been a starter for us this year.
Yeah,
Like, there was rumor that he could have finally got a chance, but with Betances and Matz going out for injured, it's like we need an arm, and this is what we're going to have to give up.
Right, and the one thing I don't like about this trade is that we gave away Smith, who's a lefty, and he's a number 12 prospect for the Mets, and he was going to be in AA this season. I like him. It's hard to find great lefties. So if he turns out to be one of those guys, it's going to be a sad loss. But, in return, we did get a 25-year-old pitcher.
Yes.
So I'm not too upset about this situation.
Not too either. It's unfortunate that sometimes that's kind of what you got to give up to get these guys. And like you said, it's not a rental. We got him for a couple of years.
Exactly.
So if he turns out well, then it's going to be a great move towards the end. So...
All right. Well, the next one let's talk about is also a Mets trade. So the Mets got a catcher, Roberson Chironos, from the Rangers, and for cash and a player to be named later. But we also got the Todd father back, Todd Frazier.
From the Rangers as well.
From the Rangers for a player to be named later. So what do you think?
The catcher we needed with, Thomas Nido on the injured list, so we need a backup for Ramos.
Right, and I know Ramos was struggling at the beginning of the season, but he's been coming on lately. He's been getting it done.
So and Robinson just hasn't had a bad year. So far. So another catcher to take a chance on. He's a 9-year veteran. Spent last season with the Astros. He returned to Rangers for a 1-year deal with a club option for next year. He has been unable to find his swing so far this season, but he does have 71 home runs from 2015 to 2019. So he does have some power. But the separate deal to bring Todd Frazier back, which some people think we could have kept him in New York, re-signed him.
I like the tweet he had or whatever the picture he
We have
put out.
unfinished business.
We have unfinished business, New York. He's happy to be back. And as a Mets fan, I'm actually happy to have him back. A lot of those guys that come through the system, like they're pretty good at first, or they're not good, and they were good somewhere else, and they come to the Mets, and then they leave them like good riddance. But Todd Frazier, I like the guy. I'm glad he's back.
Yeah, and then it gives the fact because JD got hit and. He didn't feel it during the Yankees game, so I wonder if this has a factor. Like, we're not quite sure if JD's going to be well. Let's go ahead and bring someone else that can play third. And
Or
Todd
DH
Frazier was a
if
cheat.
needed.
Yeah,
he can do a lot.
So I like the move. We'll see what it helps. You just need sometimes those bats.
Yeah.
So speaking of bats, Cubs acquire outfielder Cameron Melberry from the Tigers for infielder Zach Short. The 14-year veteran, 33-year-old, is joining his 9th big league club, becomes the second right-handed bat for the Cubs in the last 2 days they have traded for. The outfield awaits. They have a lot of injuries going on.
Right. And also, like you're saying, they have injuries going on, but the Cubs also have Albert Almora Jr., who's serving as their 4th outfielder. And he's obviously not doing it.
No.
He's actually hitting pretty terrible,
Very
batting a
terrible.
167 with 1 RBI, 9 strikeouts. Whereas Maben, he's been doing pretty good in 45 plate appearances for the Tigers. He's got an 858 OPS with the Yankees last year, and this year he's doing a 726 OPS.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good upgrade in that position.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have backups.
Yeah, and especially the way the Cubs are playing, he can be a veteran guy when it comes to the playoffs. So it'd be very interesting to watch and see if he comes to anything. So,
our next one is the Reds. They acquired Archie Bradley from the Diamondbacks for Stuart Fairchild and utility player Josh Van Meter.
okay, yeah,
So this one With Raizo Iglesias and Michael Lorenzen struggling, the Reds were in need of another late inning reliever as they attempt to make a playoff push. Bradley fits the description. He's served as D-backs closer since last season.
Yeah, he was a starter, but he's very better been a reliever last couple appearances, last few years.
Right.
So and Reds, they needed that bullpen guy. That's one thing they've been struggling in this year's. Their starters have been well, and then the bullpen gives it up. I hear that story many times as a Mets fan. But the two prospects they got up, I think Fairchild was ranked 11th prospect in the Reds organization. Where Josh, I think he's a very younger, I think. Yeah.
Well, he's a utility player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's played 5 different positions for them in the last couple of years, so it's good to have utility players. Like I said, recently I think of utility players. I think of like a Michael Gadire kind of guy.
Yeah.
Guy who can play all over the place.
So we'll see if the Reds help, especially because they're, I think before today or yesterday, they were only 1.5 out of the playoffs.
Okay.
So they're still within striking distance. That's why they didn't trade Trevor Bauer away or any other player, because they still believe they can make that run. So maybe, with Archie, they can solidify that bullpen a little more and make that run, because that division is still just stacked from top to bottom with the Cubs, Reds. So the next one is Blue Jays, which we knew something happened with Jonathan Villar after watching the Mets game yesterday, because he was playing, then he was supposed to bat, and then he got pulled. I'm like, oh, well, we know he probably just happened.
Exactly.
And then going to the Blue Jays for a player to be named later.
Yeah, and I like this because, Toronto, like I said, they're making moves.
Yes.
They could use an infielder. He's going to give him middle infield depth at shortstop.
Especially with Bichette out injury.
Yeah,
so I think
exactly.
Another week or two, they hope.
Okay.
So, he can, and he's doing okay this year with the Miami before, cut short season. So, but, he did 24 home runs last year, 40 stolen bases for the Orioles last year before they traded him to Miami this offseason. So he's collected 2 home runs and his 9 steals so far this year. But he also has been caught stealing 5 times. So I think maybe Miami's being a little more aggressive because they're not supposed to be there, and they're still in the playoff hunt as of today.
Exactly.
So it was kind of surprising they traded him, but, like we said, it's...
Well, good for the Blue Jays getting
Yeah.
that depth, and especially if they come in a situation like you said, if Bo gets back and he takes a backseat role, if they need a pinch runner or something, he's obviously got some speed to him, so he could be an asset in there.
Yeah. So the next one on trade day as well is Blue Jays required Robbie Ray from the Diamondbacks for Travis Belgin and cash.
All right.
So we were talking about, with Walker deal earlier this year, but they still wanted more,
More pitchers.
More pitchers.
You can't have
and
enough.
They went out, got Robbie Ray, which is pretty good return. Someone, he's not nothing flashy, but, he is solid. He's going to be a free agent, so this is straight rental. So,
Right.
So
And it's a guy who can help now.
Yeah.
Because they obviously traded away a pitcher to get him.
Yeah.
And they, so in exchange for Ray, Arizona gets back. They get Bergen, who's a 26-year-old lefty. He's made 22 appearances in the MLB with a 5.06 ERA over 21 in the third innings. But he's also struggled with his command. He's allowed 4.6 walks per 9. In AAA and posted a 4.2 mark in the big leagues. But, there's got to be some upside. Like I said, anytime you have a lefty, even if he can come out of the pen and take care of a side or something, there's upside there.
yeah, like we just talked about with I think Archie Bradley, he became for the bullpen help for them.
Yep.
So maybe Travis was an expendable person to get a rotation guy for them. So it kind of worked all in all for them to worked out. So
Okay.
Blue Jays need, like you said, they're within striking distance of taking the guaranteed playoff spot from the Yankees because the Yankees are slipping a little bit. So they got hot. Bichette comes back. These other deals they've done, they can make this run very quickly.
All right, so the next one we want to talk about is the A's. They acquired left-handed pitcher Mike Minor from the Rangers for 2 players to be named later. And what I like about Mike Minor is that he always advertises where he's at, and you can send him something, he'll autograph it.
Yeah, the American League West leading A's get rotation piece that they're looking for with Mike. Of course, he's struggled with his ERA this season at 5.6, but the 3.5 he has had last season is what gives you hope that maybe, Texas just wasn't for him. He was having a bad season. And being now, you went from one of the worst teams in that division to a top team in that division. It's probably why it costs 2 players to be named later, because it is within their division.
Okay.
So, but his fastball velocity is down, but he has fired 6 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts because the Dodgers, his last time out, so that definitely boosts his trade value right before the trade deadline.
Okay.
And he will be a free agent after the season.
Okay. So it might be just a rental.
Yeah, most likely. The next one, it was kind of, I don't know, it was shocking, but kind of out of nowhere.
One of the bigger ones that I didn't think was going to happen.
Yeah. The Marlins acquired Starling Marte from the Diamondbacks for Cable Smith. Oh, my God.
Humberto Mejia,
and then
a player to be named later.
So after Marte, they acquired from the Pirates for 2 minor leaguers and international bonus money this offseason. D-backs flipped him to the Miami for 3 players. So, he has $12.5 million option next year with a $1 million buyout. He owns 311 at the plate over 33 games. So he's having a solid year.
Yeah.
It's just Diamondbacks are not in it. So let's go and get something for him.
Get something for him. But the Marlins pick him up, and that's a team we didn't expect to be in the playoffs at all.
Yeah. Enter Monday, they're 14 and 15, just under 500 for the first time this year. They're tied with Phillies for the second automatic berth for the NL East. So they used their pitching depth that they had to get Marte to hopefully help out this year and then possibly next year if they do the option. So, but, Smith, the 29-year-old who's under control for a couple more years, is going to the Diamondbacks. Has showed promise, struck out 10 batters in 9 innings. Medea, he's made his major league debut earlier this season. He's a little struggling, but of course, they can all get fixed.
Yeah, agreed.
And then there was the big one.
Yeah, man, I wasn't expecting this either, so this is a pretty good one.
The rumor was this player could be traded.
Right.
It was like, who is going to give it up? And man, did they.
Yeah, this one had a lot of players in it. The Padres. The Padres. They're the ones that have been making the most noise.
And it wasn't late. It was earlier in the day. Like, I remember I was still at work. I'm like, excuse me, did they really just do this? After all this activities the last couple of days, this guys went out and got them a front rotation guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm glad they're out there doing their thing and trying to make moves. They're taking this season serious.
So, Padres acquired Mike Clevenger.
Yeah, Mike Clevenger.
Greg Allen and a player to be named later for the Indians for Austin Hedges, Josh Naylor, Cal Quantrill, infielder Gabriel Arias, left-hand pitcher Joey Castillo, and infielder Owen Miller.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give up quite a bit to get a big pitcher like that.
Yeah, Clevenger has been, like, we all thought, Cleveland, this was going to be the front guy behind Bellinger.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's why they traded their guys away. Like, this guy has the stuff. We've seen it. And unfortunately, the situation with the line about going out and then find out it was him.
Right. And it cost, the other team some prospects.
Yeah.
Hedges was expendable after San Diego added catchers Jason Castro and Austin Nola in separate trades on Sunday. And then the Padres will send Cleveland their number 7, 9, and 11 prospects. In addition to Naylor and Quantrill, they're sending a lot of players over.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing was Clevenger is not a rental. You're talking...
Right.
You have pretty much 3 years.
Okay.
Because when they sent him down, I think he was down enough time where they get an extra year from arbitration. So they technically have him for 3 more seasons.
Good. So they definitely knew what they were doing in this trade. They're like, look, man, we need him for the long run.
So he's
willing
going
to give up the farm.
32 when he hits free agency.
Okay.
So he's definitely going to be a little older, but this guy has that front rotation stuff that Padres are definitely making moves to compete with the Dodger Blue out there in the West.
Well, you got to make big moves to compete with the Dodgers because the Dodgers are on a whole nother level.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is, the winners of the trade deadline. Clearly, we can talk about the Padres.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I really like about the Padres is that they made all these moves and they didn't give up any of their top 4 prospects.
Yeah. Taylor was the biggest name I think they gave up prospect-wise.
Right.
But we all knew that the GM, AJ, this could be the make or break year for his contract.
Yeah.
After adding all this money the last 2 years before this year, like they believed in him like it was running thin. They got hot. They want to stay hot because I don't think making the playoffs with the expanded playoffs will save his job. I think he has to at least win the first round.
Yeah, and I think with all the COVID stuff going on, I mean, he took a big, deep dive into his team, saw his weaknesses, and decided, I'm going to take action, and I'm going to address these weaknesses and go out and get these players.
And the biggest thing was catching and pitching, rotation and bullpen, and that's exactly what this guy did.
Right, rotation, bullpen, catching, and he even got somebody to help out with the lineup. Exactly. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, Slam Diego definitely upgraded and is going to be competing with the Dodgers for the top spot.
And with all that hype around the team and the last couple of weeks, he's like, yeah, let's go ahead. Let's make a run for it.
Yeah, like first, like early, it was like when the first teams started making trades, I'm like, okay, they're getting relievers. That's what they need. And then the thick of the weekend, it was like Padres. And then, like I said, the morning of with Clevenger, that just blew everyone's mind.
Right. So, and like you said, San Diego has the highest scoring offense in baseball and can now have Clevenger and them on the team. I mean, this just helps out. So not only are you really good on offense, now you're starting to get your pitching straight so you can hopefully keep winning.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you need good pitching to keep winning.
Yeah. So let's say they don't catch the Dodgers, so they'll get the second spot most likely in the division.
Okay.
So the best they can get is the 4th seed.
Okay.
So, and then, with the first round, remember, it's only a 3-game series. So you do have they had their one starter. Like after that, it was that question mark. You need to win 2 out of 3. So with Clevenger now, you add that guy that could get you out of that first round.
Absolutely do it. You're not questioning it. You know who your top 2 guys are going to be going into it. And now you just got to hope that they do their thing and then your hitters keep hitting. And now you have a real chance.
Yeah, a very legitimate chance. I think their odds for the World Series jumped up dramatically. They're like the 4th best odds now to make it to the World Series or win the World Series.
Okay.
Because of all these trades.
And what I like about these people who me and Alan are considering winners of the trade deadline is that they're all hungry teams that people weren't really counting on.
Yeah. So the next one is the Blue Jays, clearly.
Absolutely. Blue Jays are making moves.
They start getting hot, and then they made the trades where they needed. Starting rotation guys in pitching. They got a few bullpen, not much, and then they got some depth behind in their lineup for their young guys.
Exactly. Blue Jays know what they need. We all know they need pitching. They addressed it. They need a little bit of help in the lineup. They got it. They know because the Yankees are injured right now. I mean, you got Judge who's gotten injured again. Who knows if he got rushed back the first time? You still got Stanton, I think, who's hurt. So there's guys on their team that aren't producing, and Blue Jays are going to take advantage. They're like, all right, well, these guys aren't making moves. I'm going to make the move, and we're going to take this card.
Yeah. Like, we thought there was a possibility this year with them making the playoffs, but with the 8 teams now, you can definitely get in, and then you can make noise and win that first round by just taking 2 games.
Well, we did think there was a possibility, but we weren't giving them too much credit early in the season because the only move we saw in offseason, we're like, why did they get that pitcher? Who was it? They signed him for a big deal. The Asian pitcher, I believe.
From the Dodgers. God, why am I drawing a blank?
Well, anyways, when that happened, you're like, I don't understand this move. I
think it's a year too early.
Exactly.
But they do need the guy.
But they need him, and they're actually making moves. So they're going to be in a situation where they can actually make the playoffs and possibly make a run. And in order to do that, they needed a trade, and they won. And they did what they needed to do.
Yeah. And then the other winner we would leave in our minds, the Reds, being
Absolutely.
1.5 out. They got those relievers they need. They got, Brian Goodwin and some bench help. So they didn't give Trevor Bauer or anyone else out. They are committed to the season. They're going to make that run. And they have a solid, that 1, 2, 3 in the starting rotation that is very dangerous if they can get into the playoffs.
Exactly. And they added Archie Bradley as a great arm to their spots.
Yeah.
I like the Reds. I like what they're doing.
Unfortunately, they haven't put it consistently together. Maybe it's finally going to be that time where they can and make that run.
Yeah, they're trying to switch it up. They're trying to get some momentum.
Yeah, you still think it's crazy. We have 4 weeks left in the season.
Oh, man.
So we'll see if they can put it together. So who lost at the trade deadline?
Well, the first team that comes to my mind as losers was absolutely the Yankees.
Yes.
Absolutely. I don't know how else to look at it.
You're injured. You've been losing. Luckily, you got some luck facing the Mets this weekend, or you could have almost got swept a 5-game series if it wasn't for bullpen woes with the Mets.
So our top 3 losers of this trade deadline are the Yankees, Braves, and Brewers. Let's talk about the Brewers.
Brewers, like I said earlier, why did they make the trade with Phillies if that's the team they're chasing?
Exactly.
Are they giving up?
Are they?
That's the question. Like, or do they believe that we still miss this guy? We're uploaded for future. Let's try to make a run this year. Like, we don't know what's going on. Like, that's the bets they're making is you're giving up one of your best relievers, still think you're going to make it, and then players going to add later. I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think they might be giving up because Christian Yelich seems to be their best player, and right now the Brewers are only averaging 3.91 runs per game, which is the second fewest in baseball.
Yeah,
and I can't imagine who the first worst is. Was it the Pirates, probably?
Has to be.
But what I'm saying is they're in a position where they're not producing.
No.
And they're not going to try to make moves to produce. They're like, well, this year's a wash. Let's just wait till next season.
Yeah. And then the last one for us is the Braves. They need rotation help, and they did not really address it. They got one guy.
I know, yes.
But what came out today was apparently Lance Lynn was a move. That was the shocker of the trade deadline. Texas is being out of it. We thought that Lance Lynn is gone. Mike Minor did get traded. But apparently they were asking for high value for Lance Lynn, and they wanted one of the top 2 prospects from the Braves. That's what rumor was. So that's why that deal didn't get done. I understand not giving, especially he was probably only a rental, or maybe there's an option year, but still, that is still high price for their 2 top guys that they had in their organization for Lance Lynn. So I get that, but it's still,
they needed pitching.
Yes,
they need to add arms, and we're not talking about just one. They need to solidify a starting 5 and get some bullpen help, especially if they want to make a run. You're, like we said. The other team that we were talking about who's been producing in runs, and they just added pitchers to their team to make them better. This is the same thing, same story with the Braves. They have a good hitting team. They need better pitching.
Yeah. So it was very shocking. Like, they can easily start slipping and get out of the playoffs in this tight NL East or in the playoffs in general. And the thing is, like, Max Fried has been great this year so far, luckily. But if you're in a 3-game series, if you lose, say, for some reason Max Fried does game, but then your bullpen loses, you have to win the next 2 no matter what. And who's your rotation guys? You're guaranteed go out there.
Exactly.
They don't have that.
You're
right
purely
now.
relying on your hitters. You can't rely on Acuna Jr. to win the games.
No.
When it comes down to pitching, because the other team gets their hits. They get their hits.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if that bites them in the ass or not. We'll see. So next, I guess we talk about the current standings and the playoff picture going on in baseball now.
Yeah, and like we said, if we start off talking about the National League, if we get to the East, the first team we talk about were the Braves.
Yeah.
The losers of the trade deadline.
Yeah.
They're 20-14. They're beating Miami because Miami's next at 500 at 15-15. Yes, they have a 5-game lead, but three games back. But that doesn't mean much. If you guys didn't do anything to help your team and the other teams are getting better, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, they had this huge lead, Sunday night against Philly, and Philly almost came back. Like, that's a pure example. You should address the issues then. But, they rolled the dice. We'll see if
exactly. They're taking a gamble. Let's see if it pays off.
Right? So, with Miami and Philly, the next 2 at 500. Mets are at 15-20, and then Washington down there at 12-20 to finish the division out.
Wow. What do you think about Washington at 12-20?
That was another team that was very surprising that they didn't trade the guys that with expiring contracts to at least get something. Like Howie Kendrick you started to hear his name some. Mm-hmm. Like that could have been tradable. Forgot who else that heard the name. And then some people asked if Scherzer was be available, which if you think about it, could happen. Mm-hmm. He only has 1-year deal left on his deal. So do you get something for him if you're not going to compete? Or do you try to redo it next year? That's the question.
It depends on how much faith they have in their team.
Yes.
Because after last season, which they won, they did a great job. They lost Anthony Rendon, and I knew it right then and there. I was like, this team's not going to be the same team. They're not going to be. I mean, they might be solid, but they're not going to be the same team at all that competed and won a World Series. And we see that now. They're not doing good at all. They're back to their old habits. So I think unless they truly believe that next season this is a fluke season and they're going to win, they should have traded players. They should have gotten a rebuild stage.
Yeah, or they think maybe off season. Like there's a bunch of players out there that could think off season. Like Lindor with the Indians was a questionable, but that's going to be more of a all-season move because he wants to be paid. So there's going to be more prospects because then you could trade him, negotiate a deal to sign him long-term kind of situation. So maybe Scherzer one of that. Like, yes, he have a tank, so you can trade him, get max players, and you can extend him kind of deal. So we'll see what Washington does in the offseason.
Well, I know one thing that's going to happen in the offseason. Juan Soto's going to get a little older.
Yeah. Not much older. So the next of the Central, the Cubs are still holding that division very strong.
Yes, they are. Even
though they have a 3-game lead over the Cardinals, technically at 13-13, second place because of the percentage. But Cubs are doing their thing behind Darvish and that pitching staff holding their own.
Yeah.
Even though I think Bryant finally came back from the DL today.
He did today.
We'll see if that helps them out. But, St. Louis, like we said, it's a percentage thing for them right now because, like I said, 26 games and compared to Cubs at 34? You're talking about 8-game difference?
Well, the thing in this division that sticks out to me is the Reds. I mean, they're kind of like in la-la land right now. We don't know if they're going to drop off or if they're going to make a run, but they sure as hell made enough trades to make a splash to try to make a run.
Yeah, so really this next week, it's going to start clearing up the playoff picture. Because you think about it, after this week, there's 3 weeks left in the season.
Yep.
A lot of teams have double headers and whatnot.
Yeah, man.
So that's going to be dicey. But, yeah, and then Pittsburgh there at the very bottom at 10-22.
Yeah, we're probably not going to talk about Pittsburgh much the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I was real surprised that was, like I said, another name that they didn't trade too many people either.
Exactly. I thought they're going to get rid of the star players they had so they can do a full rebuild.
I guess it's going to be this offseason, too. That's another team to watch out.
Because best believe if I was one of the best players on their team, I don't know who they have left, Josh Bell or somebody maybe?
Josh Bell is the biggest name I think they can trade
I'd be like,
offseason.
you guys got to get rid of me because I'm not playing on a team if you're not going to compete. It doesn't make sense.
And then this good old National League West.
Well, we already know who's at the top there.
The Dodgers at 26-10.
Yep, pretty solid.
722 win percentage.
Yeah, great.
And then you have San Diego right there, second place at 22-15, 4.5 behind the Dodgers.
22-15, and they're making moves. I think they're going to be on the heels of the Dodgers. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them play each other more because the series early in the season was great. Now you had all these other players. Man, that's going to be some close games. Unfortunately, it's on the West Coast, so it's probably going to be a little late for us here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And then Rockies, they still don't know what kind of team they are.
Right, exactly.
Like, are they strong team? Did they fall off? And now they're like, So will they compete? Like, they made a few moves. They're 4-6 the last 10, so can they stay in the playoff race? Technically, right now, they would be probably the 8th seed.
And I'm surprised that the next team, San Francisco, I'm surprised.
Quiet.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't try to get rid of Matt or Yaz or somebody like that.
I think that's going to be if Yaz
continues,
he'll probably be
an
top 5 MVP vote candidate. So that's when his value go up. Then off-season trade because he is very controllable.
So they're banking on getting even more from him. You think
if he can finish top 5,
or do they keep him? I think they sell.
I think to sell.
I think they sell to a contender for next season. I'm not sure who that would be.
It depends on how believed they are, how close they are, and I don't think they're nowhere near close.
No, they're not. They're not close enough to want to keep him. If he gets a top 5 vote, like you said, even top 10. Yeah,
and then another name with the Giants, Cueto, starting pitcher, didn't get moved.
Henry Cueto, okay.
We'll see what they do. But now let's go to the American League, the East.
Yeah, the East is different than we thought it would be. I mean, I know that you liked it. Yes, Alan liked this team. I was like, yeah, they're good, but So yes, Tampa Bay is leading the East, and Alan called it.
Tampa Bay Rays, man. That team every year has one of the lowest payroll. They draft well.
We're not talking about. Okay, Alan says team, but he means the organization as a whole is the reason why this team is crushing.
Yeah, like they have made moves in the offseason they made with those trades. I liked them. That young pitching rotation and stuff. So the Tampa Bay Rays at 25-11 have now a 4.5 game lead over the second place New York Yankees, who are injured prone. In the last 10 games, Tampa Bay's 8-2, Yankees are 3-7, and really they should not have won those 3.
No, absolutely not. It was a terrible series. The Mets,
wild pitch.
It's always the Mets thing. Yeah, wild pitch. 2 wild pitches, I think. Won
extra
the game.
Inning.
Oh my god.
Grand slam. I'm like, this is not happening.
Yeah, but Tampa Bay is absolutely doing their thing. quietly. I mean, it's not. They're not getting a lot of media attention about it, but they're killing it.
And then we have this other team we liked from the trade deadline, those Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Only one game behind the Yankees for that playoff spot.
It wasn't Kenta Maeda, was it?
What?
I'm trying to think of the player for the Blue Jays still. Man, we were terrible with the Asian pitchers, man. Like I call it. Who did I say?
Oh,
Darvish and Maeda.
Maeda was Darvish. Oh, God.
I guess I think everybody's Maeda right now.
But, the Blue Jays at 18 and 15 have come on strong, even losing Boshi and not having that starting pitching. Now they've traded some trades to see if it helps out for them. And will the Yankees improve, get healthier, or,
I think
with Garrett Cole giving up so many home runs, he's not looking like the ace that everyone thought he was.
The Yankees are lucky enough that they have so much talent on their team because they pay for them a lot. So I think even injured, they can still scrape by and make the playoffs. But if they don't get their act straight, they're not going to go any further than the first round.
And then Baltimore is finally the team we thought they were.
Right. I mean, they still have a chance. I'm not counting them out. But they're starting to do what we thought they were going to do, and that's go trending downward.
They're 3-7 in the last 10 games. I think that's why they became sellers, because they just saw them just going.
The hype just left.
We had fun. And, I laughed because on the way here, listening to the Mets game, they're playing the Orioles, and they name off the starting, well, no one besides Baltimore knows who these players are. I'm like, well, that's pretty true, besides me from being here for AAA.
Exactly.
But, yeah, most of these guys people don't know because they had really no big names, and they've been doing small ball this year.
Well, and the biggest name they have is out this season, Trey Mancini.
So, and then the AL Central, man, this division got tight and changed real quick in a week.
Oh, yeah.
So the Chicago White Sox technically lead the division right now at 22 and 13.
And that's the team that I like. So you called the Rays, and I called the White Sox.
And I thought Twins. Twins had the division this whole time till this past week. They finally gave up the lead in that division. But then Cleveland, even though Trey and Clevenger are right there, the number 2 spot in the playoffs with only one game behind the White Sox. That's what's shocking with the Clevenger trade.
Maybe they felt like they can get more assets out of that trade to help them push further.
Maybe.
But either way, this Central Division is tough regardless. I'm not counting Minnesota out of anything. They got a good record.
Yeah.
They could make one of the wild card spots if they stay in this position.
Yeah, Twins still their loaded team. Like, they had a little hiccup. Like I said, they're only 2.5 out of the White Sox. And these teams got to play each other still. It's going to be very tight.
And the next team's not even out of it either.
Technically, Detroit is 4.5 out of the lead. They're still right there at 500.
Which is shocking because you didn't have Detroit doing anything this season.
No one did.
I know. Nobody did. So I thought there were going to be another Pittsburgh.
Well, especially with the 8 teams. A lot of people say if you can get to 500, you should get a playoff spot.
I agree.
That's what a lot of people believe. Well, they're at 500 right now. Can they sneak in? But I don't know. With the rest of this division,
if Detroit makes a run, wow.
If they sneak in and get that 8 seed.
That
Unfortunately,
would be
as of right now, they'd face Tampa Bay.
But it
if
doesn't.
they can sneak in.
If they can sneak in, they don't care who they face. They're happy to be here.
Yeah.
And if they made a run and they beat Tampa Bay, now they're newsworthy. I mean, they're newsworthy. They're good. They could be newsworthy.
That young pitching, they're finally coming up. So see if they can hold it together.
We can still talk about Detroit this season.
Yeah, they're 7-3 the last 10. We have to pay attention.
Have to.
So in Kansas City,
they're trying to stay alive.
Yeah,
we'll move on.
In the West, we talked about Oakland's kind of at standstill right now with their games, but they're still leading the division at 22 and 12.
Right, they got a 2-game losing streak though.
But they add another pitching depth, so that gets their back of their rotation. Houston, that's another team I thought was real quiet. Verlander's still not back yet. They need rotation.
Maybe they weren't quiet. Maybe they were trying to make moves, but nobody wants to deal with them because they're cheaters. I'm just saying they could have got blackballed this season.
That really could be true. Or they like, oh, you want this guy? We want 5 players to be named
exactly.
later.
Yes, I would not doubt it. I'm sure these GMs feel salty because they did something that was unheard of.
And I feel kind of bad because the GM who is there didn't have the organization.
I know.
Dude, I inherited this.
I know. But look.
You said it could be blackballed.
You got to come with all the things that come with that team.
And then there's this team called Seattle that was last in their division has creeped up, even though they're pretty much out still, 8.5 out.
Especially for the American League, they're not.
So Seattle, Texas, and Angels, the rest of the division's done.
Yeah,
so,
we had high hope for the Angels.
Unfortunately, Oakland, Houston have an easy way the rest of the way.
Yeah, agreed.
Until they face each other.
Agreed. Yeah, so we're going to assume that we know for sure Oakland's going to make it from this division, and then we're assuming that Houston's going to lock up the second spot.
With the 2 spots, them 2 are locked almost now.
Right.
So if you go to the playoffs, if they ended today, the National League, Dodgers would face the Rockies. The Padres would face the Phillies. Atlanta would face Miami, and Chicago would face St. Louis.
Okay.
That would be if now. So I'm like, but think about it. If Dodgers and Padres would advance, they would face each other in the second round. Man, that's a team you do not want to face in your second round.
No, but then that's also a team that the Dodgers wouldn't want to. Neither one of these teams want to play each other that early.
No. So then the American League right now, you have the Tampa Bay Rays, the number 1 seed, versus the number 8 seed, the Blue Jays.
That would be interesting. Look, anytime you're playing against somebody in your same division, I don't care what your record is, you know each other that well.
A 3-game series.
That's what I'm saying.
To make it to advance.
That could easily be something that nobody's thinking of. Like Tampa Bay could get knocked out and not even know what happened to them.
So at the number 2 seed right now, technically, it's the Cleveland Indians. Yeah, number 4 seed, sorry. Against the Houston Astros.
Well, I mean, you got to get past the Astros sometime. I'm not sure. That could be a good matchup. I'm going to give the Astros a little bit of advantage on that one.
And then Oakland at number 2 will face the number 7 seed, the Twins. And then the White Sox, number 3 seed, would host the Yankees.
Oh, that's the matchup right there. That's the first round I'd like to see.
So with what we said, 3-4 weeks left, this is going to be tight. Like every week, we have to look at this playoff race to what could be. Because like you said, if you lose that first game opening round, you have to win the next 2. And remember, there's no traveling. So there's probably going to be playoff bubble. Or if they do get to play at home the first round, it would be at all 3 games or at the top ranked home.
Okay.
So you got to think about that. So, man, that'd be tough to do if you're on the road. But if not, if we're in a bubble, it's neutral. It's still going to feel weird, but we'll see what happens. So next we get our Players of the Week.
Players of the Week. All right.
So we'll start with the AL, and I think we got to give it up to this man who pitched the first no-hitter this year in the Major League with Lucas Giolito.
Yes, Lucas Giolito, thank you so much. You made me and Alan's memorabilia worth a lot more.
So it's funny because you remember he was my Player of the Week last week.
Yeah.
He was doing good. Like I loved what he did the week before. Then
you gave him good juju, man.
And then my wife joked because the previous week with Maeda, we stuck around watching the no hitter.
Yeah, Alan
the
stuck
girls
around.
Were tired. I'm like, this is a no hitter.
Yeah, if there's another no hitter, you can't stick around. Well, guess what? There was another no hitter.
I got home and there's no one go. I'm like, oh, excuse me, Lucas.
Yeah, Giolito, and guess what? He finished it.
Did he finish it? 9 innings, 1 walk, 13 Ks.
And I think he set or tied a record for the most swing and misses or something like that, too.
And, of course, people were like, oh, it's just Pirates.
I don't care. They're still professionals. This is MLB. He's not throwing to South Korean players or whatever. He's not in a KBO right now.
Yeah, and his one hiccup. He would have had a perfect game if it wasn't for that one walk.
And I think it happened early, too.
Early, like the second inning or something like that.
Man. He pitched a gem, and he had help. Especially that last play of the game, it was a line drive. It was a fast
close.
one.
Yeah.
I was like, "That's not a pop up," and he had to run. He chased it down and barely got it.
Yeah.
Look, and then there were some other ones before that. I think Tim Anderson had to go out there and get one from the guys in the middle. It could have fell anywhere.
Yeah, one was like real close infield hit and barely got it, like scooped out.
And there was a couple of plays to make you. Think about it, because it was good. Great game.
And then he pitched last night. He had 5 innings, no decision, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks, but still.
I don't care. You get a pass because, that's not a bad game. Yeah. You should still set your team up for a chance to win with giving up 2 runs.
And I'm pretty sure they did win because it is the White Sox. And they got the division now, so I'm pretty sure they did win.
So, that's absolutely our AL Player of the Week.
And then it's funny because last week I had both White Sox as my Players of the Week, and yet again I have both White Sox.
Yeah, and me and Alan have both White Sox as well. So I think our second player, who's actually the position Player of the Week in our mind for the AL, is the same person.
Yeah, it's Luis Roberts.
Luis Roberts, yep.
The rookie sensation in the White Sox. It's just 7 games. He has 10 hits, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, batting .370 this past week.
Yeah, and he's another solid reason why they're doing their thing and winning.
Right, because we talked about Abreu last week having that monster of a weekend. Luis and Tim Anderson is coming back. We thought that could compete for the batting title as he's defending batting title champ.
And he's been doing great. Like I said, we've been saying
Sox.
it since we've been freezing out here in the garage. I like the White Sox this year. I don't know why.
Off season they got strong. They got players. They've been rebuilding right.
A great young team. Yeah.
We were surprised that Red Sox didn't do this move where they just dump everyone and get prospects to rebuild. because White Sox did that, and look where they are now.
Yeah, I can't even say the White Sox took their moves from the Braves because me and Alan were talking about how good the White Sox are going to be in a couple years when we saw their AAA team here, and they had all these top hot prospects, and they were doing great,
chasing them around trying to get autographs.
Yeah,
there was 4 or 5 on the team that day, and
exactly. But that's what I'm saying. We
Moncada,
knew,
of course, that was the highlight.
We knew that they were going to be a good team based off of
Yeah.
what we've been seeing down here.
Yeah, but the trade with the Nationals getting Giolito, like he had a terrible, so they put him back down to AAA, and he fixed it. And like I said, no hitter. And Luis, they got that young international money, and they built a system, and that outfield is stacked, infield is stacked. Like now they have the pitching, it's working out for them.
We can sit here all day and talk about how good the White Sox have been doing things, but let's move on to our National League Players of the Week.
So National League Pitcher of the Week, I have Yu Darvish.
Yeah.
Last game, he had 6 inning pitches, 7 hits, but no earned runs, 2 walks, and 8 Ks. He is now leading the National League in ERA.
Nice. And that's pretty big for Yu Darvish because, I mean...
Yeah. What was it, 2 years ago? They were like... Darvish was giving all these home runs for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
We thought he was maybe done. And then last year, the Cubs, he had a terrible year.
He did.
And this was the one uncertainty about the Cubs we didn't know was pitching. And Darvish has showed up this year.
I agree, man. See, look, it's not my fault I thought Kenta Maeda, who was throwing that no-no, was Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish has been pitching so good, I thought it had to be him. So my National League pitcher of the week is Adam Wainwright.
Yes.
And this is basically because the game he had against the Indians where he threw a complete game, had 9 Ks on his 39th birthday. It's his first complete game he's thrown in 4 years. I think he deserved it this week.
Yeah, old man did it.
He sure did, man.
And I think, what is it, Jack Flaherty, the young ace, on his birthday had a sign said, Adam Wainwright, and with a wheelchair for him to push him to, I think, from the hotel to the bus or something.
That's awesome.
So he had some fun, but this old guy did it. Him and Moncada after the game, they hugged because he pitched to Jim. They're both older guys. Like this could be one of those probably his last complete games.
You mean Molina?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
You said Moncada. He's younger, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So him and Molina, Molina's been there. That was like his 2900th game or something like that.
Something like that.
Exactly. So I agree. So that's my pitcher and your pitcher. Who's your National League player, position player?
Technically, I think we both have Nationals.
Yes.
You talked about it. But mine, even though, Machado had another great week for Padres.
He did. He really did.
I just thought Juan Soto had a little bit better week
because he's younger. How old is he?
He's 21.
Anyways,
but in 30 at bats, he had 11 hits, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, and batting .367. I think maybe why they're not getting as much say so. Like we said, the Nationals have done nothing this year.
Right, and this is crazy because you just heard the stats Alan said about Juan Soto in the National. That's his player of the week. My player of the week is also from the Nationals, is Trey Turner. And he had his last 7, he had 17 hits, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. He's batting .586. Me and Alan both have 2 guys from the Nationals, players of the week, and they're still in last place in the division. There's something wrong.
Pitching.
Yeah, pitching. Strasburg's been injured. Everybody's not looking good.
No.
You can't, like I said, that's why pitching is so big, and I'm surprised they didn't make any moves.
And it's going to be, in other words, like there's a World Series hiccup. Teams who have played and won the World Series have done terrible the next year.
Agreed.
Is that something that they're doing? Like that long season, their pitching just hadn't had enough time to heal and get ready. Even though
their pitching
they had a longer break because of Corona, but we don't know that. It still could be something. So that's our players of the week. So next we get to talk into some Mets news since that is our team. And we finally might have an owner.
Oh, yes. We actually have the A-Rod and J-Lo. They bowed out.
Billionaire hedge fund manager Steve Cohen has entered an exclusive negotiations to purchase the New York Mets yet again.
Yeah, and the price that I heard get thrown around was $2.6 billion, which is not the $4 billion we were thinking of originally. And why is that?
Well, the 2.6 was what he was supposed to get for the team back in February. Then when the say-so about who's going to run the organization for 5 years, he backed out. So it's they're hearing 2.5, 2.6. So if it is 2.5, he's saving $100 million, which the team is what we're hearing is going to lose about $100 million this year because of Corona.
Right.
So now the question is it $2.5 million inheriting the debt, or is it $2 billion and then you're going to pay the debt, which is about $500 million.
Well, and I also think the other big issue is SNY.
SNY, Wilpons do not want to get rid of.
And that's going to be a huge factor in the oncoming weeks. But before we get into that, why did A-Rod back out?
So the group led by A-Rod and Jennifer Lopez informed the Mets they're no longer pursuing the team after the word of the exclusive negotiations. So, they thought, people were hearing that if they ever get exclusive, that A-Rod was going to back out.
Okay.
But there's also word I've heard that A-Rod group kind of fell out was because A-Rod was talking to former GM of the Astros of consulting, which, a lot of teams do not like him right now because of the Astros stealing scandal.
Yeah.
So a lot of owners probably would not have voted for A-Rod.
So why would he even put himself in that position?
Apparently they've been long-term friends before the whole Astro thing.
Wow.
But, Fred and Jeff Wilpon agreed to sell Cohen back for $2.6, didn't work out. So on August 17th, the final bids were due. And then the article came out that, Jeff Wilpon dislikes Steve Cohen and that he wants A-Rod to come with the team or he's going to make Cohen pay double. Well, hours after that deal comes, a report that Jeff Wilpon is not a part of the sale no more.
Exactly.
And I think that's when Cohen won because he has the money.
Yeah, you have to be realistic here. And me and Alan have been saying this for weeks now. I don't know if A-Rod and them could come up with the money, and even if they could, they can't support the team.
I think they had enough to get up to about $2 billion. I had a feeling.
Yeah, but that's all in. What are they going to do after that?
Exactly. Like they're going to try to sell more minor of the team to get money.
Yeah, exactly. And as a Mets fan, the Wilpons probably don't like Cohen because they don't want to be outshined, and they're absolutely going to be. The Mets are going to love Cohen because he has the money where he can actually spend and put investments into the team.
And I think,
and that's what we've been asking for.
Yeah, and I think Fred Wilpon. I think when the negotiation was going on for early, like it all believed that he was about to be okayed as the owner. The sale was going to be done. So. And I think the other owners realizing that this is going to be the largest purchase for the MLB.
Yeah. Which
and
is good
make
for them.
Their franchise is worth more.
Exactly.
So they're definitely going to get the 23 votes, I feel like, or they would not start negotiation.
I think it's a shoo-in. And the billionaire Steve Cohen is a lot smarter than most people might think. So he absolutely knows the ball's in his court, and he's got nothing to lose. The Wilpons need to get on board.
And this was the last last for Steve Cohen to own a team probably in his lifetime. He's what I think he's like 60 something, so MLB teams doesn't come up for sale every so often. So, but the thing is, the TV ratings to get SNY is that deal going to get done, and then also is what's going to happen with now the undeveloped area around the stadium that the Wilpons own. Can they go the same route what the Rangers and Braves have done and made an entertainment area next to the stadium?
I believe they will.
I think they should now.
They absolutely will. Especially once they sell this team, they're going to be more liquid on cash, and then they're going to have the money to put into these projects to make more money.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense.
So, and that's one thing. A-Rod Group was, they're going to use J-Lo was going to help do that the World Entertainment area because that's her ballpark. So,
well, and also, speaking about entertainment, and Cohen. He needs to get SNY. And one of the big reasons why is because that's going to be one of your moneymakers. And the TV ratings for the Mets are right there with the Yankees.
Yes.
The Mets have a big fan base. So big that they have the fan club, the Seven Line Army, and they travel around to different stadiums. And they get Mets fans to come out there, and they take up a whole section during the game. So, yeah, Mets fans are everywhere.
Yeah. And if he doesn't get the deal done, so I think they have 7 years left on the SNY deal. Then he can't. Then he could technically make his own channel. But do you want to wait that long? Because the rumor is, if you're going to lose $50 million a year, that's a lot of money. Even though Steve has it, but
it's not a good business decision.
No,
right, and he knows that. So there's got to be something in here. He's got to get SNY, or he's got to get them off of that, where he can have his own. I don't know. I'm not sure.
We'll see what happens with that. But I really hope. And then rumor thought was the deal once it's completed. The ownership change will be after the season. Apparently, rumor now is if the deal gets done, ownership will be transferred automatically as soon as this deal is done.
Oh, that'd be great.
So Steve could become the owner, say, before the playoffs happen, he becomes the new owner, and Mets can go on the run, and he could be his first.
Wow.
He could technically, if they would win the World Series, it'd be right then, there, done.
Wouldn't that be something? Wilpons would be upset.
Oh, would they? Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
All right, man. So let's talk about the bullpen in the Mets.
Our woes.
Yeah, I mean, every time I turn on TV, I used to just cringe when I saw Familia come up. But now I'm starting to do the same thing with Edwin Diaz.
Man, Diaz, first game season looked good. Like, okay, cool. Second game, he got that home run, which it's unfortunate it was Oppo, but,
I was like, everybody gets one, just like Spider-Man.
It's like, okay, as long as he bounced back, and then he had that stretch of okay games.
Yeah, he was doing okay. I was like, okay, here we are.
And then now the question is, like, do we put him in bad situations like the other day? Like, we had against the, what was the game?
Well,
was it the Yankees? Or was it the Miami where, I think it was Miami. We had this game and they started eating away. I'm like, what? No, it was the Yankees. Yeah. I was like, okay, we were 7-2.
Man.
We got this.
Oh, man.
So I kind of put it like off to the side. I was doing other stuff and my phone starts going off. I'm like, okay, they scored a run.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like, ding, ding, ding. I'm like, you got to be joking me.
I was like, okay, so now it's like 4. I was like, it's not terrible. I was like, what is happening? Yes.
They tied the game.
Exactly. Once they tied it, I knew it was a wrap.
I was like, well, shit. And then I went to see what happened. I'm like, oh, we gave a bunch of runs and then decided to put Diaz in with 2 people in scoring position.
Well, my opinion is if he's supposed to be the shutdown closer,
That's
this almighty, it should not be an issue. He should go out there and do his thing. Instead, every time I see him, he's out there giving up runs, losing the game, and then smiling right afterwards. Like, oh, ha, 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 I just lost. No, man, that's not what you do. We can't get good closers to save our life. Somebody get Billy Wagner on the phone.
Yeah, between Diaz and then Betances had the best ERA in the bullpen until he got hurt. So, he had 3.15. Familia has a 3.68. Justin Wilson has a 3.86.
Yeah.
Brad Branch is 3.9.
That's not going to get it done.
Strickland at 4.5. And then a 4.5 with Paul. And then Danny at 3.38. Like, once we pulled Lugo to be a starter, because we need a starter guy.
Absolutely needed him.
Lost that guy in the bullpen.
Well, and it's crazy because it shouldn't be that guy. These guys out here, Familia, Betances, Brad Brack, whatever. I mean, these guys should be producing. I don't know what's going on there.
And then Matt's looked good in the one inning he did. And then when he did not come out again, I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, what happened exactly?
I'm like, this guy does multiple innings. You probably could have got 2 out of him. And then they're like, oh, apparently there's something going on. I'm like, oh, he's hurt.
Exactly.
Shocker.
Yeah, exactly.
It's heartbreaking.
You know how I feel bad for? I feel bad for DeGrom because he has to carry the whole pitching staff on his shoulders.
Unfortunately, he had a bad game yesterday and got the loss for the first one this year.
But still, I know it's just that's because all that pressure.
That's what I'm wondering. Like,
if he was.
I'm tired of giving up a no decision. I should be 4-0 right now.
Think if he was on any other team, any halfway decent team, my man would be like 20-game winner every year.
Yes.
It's just sad. It really is. I hope DeGrom. I don't know if he's gonna get a Cy Young this year, but who knows?
He's still 3rd ERA. He just can't have no more terrible games. Like, he needs to only give up 1 earned run, if that, the rest of the way for the next what. You're talking about 5-6 starts. That's it.
But what I'm saying is this all in his head? Like, is it a mental thing? Like, if you're pitching a great game and we know DeGrom does not get any help. So if you're pitching a great game and you're winning like 1-0, in the back of your mind, you're like, if I come out of here, the bullpen's going to lose this game. Like those thoughts got to go through your mind.
Could have been because the other day he went 6 innings and lost the lead for the bullpen. I think it was the same thing the previous time. So yesterday. I think it was 7th inning. Like, I'm gonna try at least get through 7.
That's what I'm saying. He's trying to go too far because he knows.
And it was close. The pitch count, I was like, he's close. Just hopefully he can get out his inning. And then unfortunately he
and that's what I'm saying. Any other team, he would have gone 6, had like 89 pitches maybe, and said, okay, you guys can take me out. But not here. He's like, I got to go this extra inning because this bullpen will lose my game. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it's a sad thing.
It is, and it's like you said. Like, I saw an article like, what team you don't want to face in the playoffs, and one was the Mets because they have been hitting. And the thing is, like, you have to face DeGrom. So if you face the Mets in that first round, they get that win from DeGrom. So now you have to win the next 2, which could happen because our bullpen and our other starters. But it makes it harder. And then the hitting that Mets have doing, they don't want to face that team in the first round of the playoffs.
Right. I mean,
we need this bullpen guys to step up.
Right. If the Mets are firing on all cylinders, they are trouble. But when they're not, they are really off.
Like that Friday night against the Yankees, swept the doubleheader. I'm like, this is good.
Comeback win.
And then, like we said, we're 7-2 on Saturday. I'm like, yo, we're about to take the series from the Yankees.
We should
Loving
have.
this.
Oh, man.
And then the doubleheader where we gave up to go to extras and lose, and then the go-ahead grand slam.
I wonder how many other teams have this kind of harsh feeling about their team. Like it's hard to be a Mets fan. I don't know if you guys know this. Like, it's not a Yankees fan. We don't have 27 rings. You think Cleveland's like that?
I think after, especially being up 3-2 in the World Series and losing it and then going to game 7.
Yeah, man. Texas.
And then you thought like the next year, like we were being there and then you're not. Oh, you're talking about Texas.
I'm talking about when Nolan Ryan was sitting there like back-to-back years when they were like an out away.
Yeah, back games like Game 6, like we're 1 out away from our first World Series and how long? And then it's like, oh, we'll see you tomorrow night. And then next night, same situation and then lose it again.
Yeah.
I remember that.
The teams that I don't think it's hard to watch would be like the Yankees, San Francisco, because you guys won like every other year back in the early 2000s or mid-2000s.
I like this.
The Dodgers.
What Gary V said. When he was fans of the Yankees, but when they won their title, it wasn't fun being a fan no more.
Yeah.
Because the hunger of that chase. He said the same thing about his Rangers, New York Rangers. When they won a Stanley Cup, he's like, I didn't care about them. He's like, my son's a Mets fan. He's like, it's interesting that chase. That's why I'm a Jets fan. He's like, maybe when we win, it's just that it's like, okay, but it's that chase. I guess if you're not used to it every year.
Yeah, you're hungry and you really want to see them win. But when they finally win, you think it's going to change his attitude, outlook on it?
I don't know.
You know, if the Mets ever do win,
like it was special.
I'm going to want to go back again.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, 15 was unexpected. How much fun we had that year, that playoffs.
Because we weren't expected to be there. I agree.
So I don't know, man.
But it would have been so much more special if they would have taken a W. Even if we declined like we have been, that 15-year would have been super special because...
And the next year, in the wild card game against the Giants, like it was special until Familia came in and gave a 3-run home run.
And it left a bad taste in my mouth ever since.
After Syndergaard pitched to Jim.
Ever since.
Ugh. Unfortunately, life as a Met fan.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah, but so this is another article about. We talked about trades earlier.
Yep.
We talked about Kevin Smith being traded. Now, in the 2 years we've had Brodie as a GM, he has traded away 6 key guys that most of them have been pitching depth for our organization that we could definitely use.
Absolutely.
And one is this stuck guy that I feel like is going to be a star player on the West Coast that we are going to definitely hurt if Diaz does not fix his shit.
Okay.
First one is that guy I'm talking about, Jared
Kelenic,
the number 12 prospect in all of baseball.
So that's the guy you think we should have
I
held on to.
loved when we traded this guy. I'm like, he's about to be an outfield gem. He's going to be a star. Give him a couple years. He'll be right there with Conforto. Be great for our outfield. Mm-hmm. Well, we gave it Diaz. I'm like, okay, we can use a closer. I don't want to see him go, but also Justin Dunn was in that trade.
Okay.
Then with Seattle. So Justin Dunn, 6 games so far this year, he's 2-1 with a 4.3 ERA.
Okay.
He is a former first-round pitcher. 21 strikeouts this year. You're talking about that's a rotation guy we could have in our rotation right now.
Yeah.
Anthony Clay was last year for Marcus Stroman. This year, they pretty much use him out the bullpen. So in 8 games he's played this year, he's 2-0 with a 2.9 ERA and 13 strikeouts for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, with that 2.9 ERA is a lot better than anyone the Mets have in their pen right now.
The other guy with the Stroman trade, Simon Woods Richard, is a number 4 prospect in the Blue Jays organization.
Okay.
Well, another pitcher.
He might get called up if they start making a run.
Blake Taylor was in the trade to get Jason Mrazek from the Astros. He's been a reliever this year. In 15 games, he's 1-0 with a 1.2 ERA for the Astros at the
solid.
bullpen for 15 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Smith, we just gave up, is the number 12 prospect for the Orioles right now.
Yeah, which is crazy.
A lot of pitching depth that we could be using right now.
Exactly. Like, we have been needing pitching for so long. That's why those guys are on our team to start with. And you just want to give them away? It's nuts, man.
Like, I understand Kevin Smith, we need bullpen. And, the other guys, but the one's going to stick on me is going to be Jared. If this kid comes up sometime next year and becomes the star that I think he can be, and a lot of people think they can be, and he becomes that every year, all-star Juan Soto kind of player, And I'm just going to be like, he was drafted by the Mets, and we gave away for a reliever and a 30-something-year-old second baseman.
Well, now the question is, do you think he would be, if he became the stud we speak of, do you think he would be this good as a Met? Because the Mets are known for whatever reason, the players coming through do not perform, and then they leave and they go crazy. I'm just thinking Justin Turner or somebody like that, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to hurt me no matter what.
Well, look, when the Wilpons get rid of the team, I think we'll all be happier, and we'll see what happens then. But
Yeah.
until then, we're going to be salty about these people leaving our system and doing better, way better.
So if the Steve Cohen deal gets done, he becomes our owner. I can see one thing definitely happening this offseason. We're going to trade for Lindor, and we're going to pay for him. Because
so?
Steve Cohen has the money to pay whatever he wants. Because rumor is Lindor wants that $300 million.
Okay.
Indians are not going to pay that. So they're going to trade. Now, here's the thing. Who do we have that we can trade for the Indians? We really don't have the depth because look at the guys we did trade.
Exactly.
Is it going to cost us? Probably. Are we going to have anything? Not really. But stuff like that is what Cohen's going to make this team do. I have the pockets, go pay him. And now, who's going to be his GM? Is Brodie going to stick around? Probably not.
No. we need somebody. We need somebody from the Rays organization.
Well, they all left already.
Yeah, well, they're still doing it. I don't know, man. I feel like. So what you're saying is, if Cohen closes this deal, we're going to be the new Yankees.
It's going to be aggressive where he is going to be, I want to win. Go find me what we need. He's going to get a GM that's going to be like, look, we need this player, this player, this player. And Steve's probably like, what's going to cost me? And he'd probably approve it. Where Wilpon's like, oh, can we do this kind of a deal? Let's save some money here.
All right. Well, okay. I kind of see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like he needs to make money on these transactions. Like, he can't just go out spending all his money and seeing nothing in return.
Unfortunately, I think the first couple of the year when he becomes the owner, it's going to be that, like, I'm finally an owner. Because he is a Mets fan. He grew up a Mets fan.
So he's going to
just fandom is going to take over.
It's going to be like
his
Christmas.
Business.
It's going to be like Christmas. He's going to be like, I got to spend this money. My team needs it.
Especially, If you're talking about, I'm a first-time owner. It's going to be around Christmas time during the winter meetings. What player can I afford?
So you're right. If he spends the money now and the team is right, it could absolutely happen. But I feel like if he takes over the team, we're going to be in like a 3-4 year kind of wait period.
So the first thing first, if I was him, let's get the deal done to extend Conforto. If there's really no other pitching out there, try to get Stroman back.
Well, okay. Well, we definitely need to extend Conforto. He's one of my favorite players.
Yeah. Like, go ahead and get that deal done. Make it work for both where it's not a crazy money deal, but enough where it makes both satisfied. Get that deal done. I think it's the first thing you need to do as the owner. Because I think he has, 1 year left in his deal after this year.
I honestly, if you look at his numbers, man, if he can stay healthy, his numbers are pretty solid. He's like a quiet crusher, man. I feel like he's going to have to be in a $200 million range plus.
Oh, easily. Because, he is younger. He is out of college, so... But he came up so quick.
He did, but we see what he can do. He can put up 30-plus home runs and 100 RBIs and bat 300. Yeah. He can be that guy.
Remember, Monday was his first off game this year.
Yeah,
He's been played every game.
I like Conforto a lot.
So I think that's the first thing he needs to do. And then next is going to address the rotation. Of course, after Noah, if everything's looking well, yes, we have some young guys, but we need another guy.
Yeah,
Do we pay Stroman? Possibly.
It's not the exciting rotation that we had in 2015. That was really exciting.
Yes.
All we have now that we're looking forward to is basically DeGrom. We might need to rebuild a whole new rotation.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see. But if it's who he becomes in his office with him, like his GM, his president, let's make some smart moves. But also where it's like, I want to get this player, but we don't have the money. That's not going to be discussion no more.
Yeah, exactly.
If we want that player, Steve's going to prove it and let's go get it. But we'll have to wait and see if the deal gets done.
Okay.
Hopefully it does. Because Friday night was a great night. We swept the Yankees. And then that's when the word got out that Steve Cohen's an exclusive negotiation. Mets fans were very happy Friday night.
Friday was a good night.
Until Saturday, Sunday when we lost to the Yankees 3 games. But hey, what can you do?
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this podcast.
Yeah. Trade deadline was crazy. Padres went nuts. We'll see if that benefits for them. Does Blue Jays make that run and take over the second spot of the Yankees?
Are there any more COVID tests positive? We'll find out.
And will we be at an alternate site bubble time? So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up.